Vice Chancellor, Professor T.P. Subha, our Dean School of Education, Professor C. Nombre, also to our head of the department, Professor Ice Aim, and to all the all the panelists who are present here today, and as well to everyone who are joining us online, to all the faculty teachers who are there. We will a very good morning to everyone. And starting off with this program, I would invite Professor C. Nombre, Dean School of Education, to give the introductory remark.
A very good morning and warm welcome to all the dignitaries at the National Council of Teacher Education, New Delhi. And we are happy to announce that we have here Professor T.B. Subha, who is the Vice Chancellor of our university, in charge of the university. And we are warmly welcome to you, sir. And thank you so much for being here in this one-day program of open discussion on NEP, National Standard for Professional Education. A warm welcome to all my colleagues here from the Department of Education who are already here from the morning, and a warm welcome to all the resource persons and also the esteemed participants from all the teacher education institutions and colleges of teacher education institutions, and also from the schools. We are very happy to be here today to conduct this one-day open discussion in collaboration with NCTE New Delhi. I will just give a brief presentation on the NEP 2020. Will you please kindly share the, yes. Okay, NEP 2020 in the context of National Professional Standards of Teacher Education. As we all know, teacher education is a very important area where we all know that preparation of professional development of teacher takes place in the teacher education institutions. But we also know that the teacher are very important in the educational system. But as we all know, the teacher has their own problems, their own concern, which is to be taken care of. For example, next. The challenges that are faced by the teachers are low salary, where we have there's high stress, there's no professional development of the teachers. no mentor and no growth at all. The existing teacher do not get the chance to go out of the profession, but teachers who are, but the teachers who you know, cannot seek, the teachers can quit and seek other careers, but it is very difficult to invite the teachers who are really good in the field. This is the problem that next the current challenges faced by teachers. Now, according to the National Education Policy, the policy recognized the importance of teachers, the power of teachers, and put the teachers at the center of the fundamental reforms in the country. It has put systematic reforms that would help teacher emerge as an attractive profession of choice for bright and talented young minds. It proposed several reforms to empower teachers and also uh, giving the due respect and status to for this profession, hoping that it would eventually attract the best mind to the teaching profession. Next. Next. Now, the reforms that has been brought about in teacher education aims to support and nurture teacher through all the three different phases. It has, address, first of all, the education and preparation and recruitment and also professional development of teachers. Now, next, when it comes to education and preparation of teachers, we all know, next. Preparation of teacher, it requires high quality content as well as pedagogy. And teacher education will gradually be moved by 2020 into multidisciplinary colleges and university. And as colleges and university all move towards multidisciplinary institution, they will also aim to house outstanding education department with B.Ed and M.Ed and PhD degrees in education. Next. Now, when it comes to the professional education of teachers, these are the three different courses that has been emphasized by NEP 2020. We have 1 year of 4-year integrated B.Ed, where the minimum degree of qualification for teaching includes students who are teaching at the local schools. And they are the second, where we have 2 years program where the applicants comes with an existing bachelor degree in other specialized subject, and 1 year degree program where people who have acquired master degree or specialized subject can join the subject. Next. When it comes to, this is on teachers, when it comes to, next, teacher education, pre-service teacher education. This is the stress that has been made by NEP 2020. That is multi-level teaching and evaluation, teaching with children with disabilities, teaching children with special interests or talents, use of additional technology, and learner-centered and collaborative learning. But what is being emphasized is the National Curriculum Framework for Teacher Education, that is NCFTE 2020, one which is being is in the process of being formulated by NCTE, and NCFTE 2021 will also be in align with the national curriculum framework, which is being developed by the National Council of Teacher Education Institution, NCERT. This is next. Regarding teacher recruitment and employment, NEP provides teacher eligibility tests. These are the standards that are being placed by the NEP 2020. One is now TET will be the standards across the different stages, that is foundational, preparatory, middle, and secondary of school education. And for subject teachers, TET as well as National Test Agency, NTA, will be in corresponding subject with also those who will be considered for recruitment. Next one. Teaching career and profession, this is also the standards that are being kept by the NEP 2020, where we have teacher audit or performance appraisal, which will be carried out at regular intervals. School teachers must undergo 50 hours of opportunity every year to keep themselves attending workshop or online teacher development modules. And importantly, this is national professional standard for teacher, which is being developed, will be developed by 2022. Next part. To inspire the best and the brightest to enter the teaching profession and to empower teacher to help them to work effectively in their job, the National Education Policy has also proposed the National Council for Teacher Education with its structure new form as a professional standard setting body to develop the National Professional Standards for Teachers, NPST. But it is also very important, along with the NCTE, it is mixed. It is the duty of all the responsibility of the National Council of Teacher Education as a statutory body. But however, teacher communities, higher educational institutions, such as the universities, central and state level implementation policies, including NCERT, NEPA, CBSE, State Board, SERT, DIET, etc., shall be essential for implementing the teaching standards in respective regions. Next part. So the National Professional Standards for Teacher will inform the design of pre-service teacher education program and would also bring expectation of the role of teacher at different levels of expertise, rank, and the competencies required for that rank. Next. So in conclusion, I invite all of us to come together through this program of open house discussion on NEP 2020 in the special context of National Professional Standards of a Teacher to participate actively and suggest the way forward for professional development of teachers. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your introductory remark, for introducing us to the program as well, for introducing us to the need and importance of the national standards or professional standards for teachers. Moving on with this program, I would now request Professor Ice Aim, Head Department of Education, to please give us the welcome address.
Thank you, Dr. Yutia. Thank you, Dr. Yutia. Respected Vice Chancellor of the Northeastern Hill University, the professors of the department, our Dean School of Education, Professor S.M. Sungo, the former Dean School of Education and former head, all the dignitaries present online. Okay. And all the dignitaries present, both online and offline. I, on behalf of the Department of Education and on my own behalf, I am here to propose to give the welcome address. At the outset, I welcome our respected Vice Chancellor, Professor T.B. Subba. Sir, I warmly welcome you to this open house discussion. And we know very well that, Sir Subba is a man with expertise, with vast expertise in social and cultural anthropology, and with many years of teaching experience, research, as well as administrative experience. And I say, sir, I feel that we are encouraged by your presence here today, because this open house discussion, as you know, has been, with the background has been set by our Dean, Professor Nongri. I feel that this topic for today, National Professional Standards for Teachers, is so pertinent, is so important, especially in the 21st century, because for teaching, as we consider it to be a profession, so I think with the national education policy and all the efforts that are being put in to really keep it at par with the other professions, I think these standards are very important. And throughout the country, if you look, you will find that there is this open house discussion to actually really come to a consensus on what the standards of teaching profession should be at the different levels of education. So, sir, once again, I warmly welcome you, and I feel that we are motivated and encouraged as a department by your presence. Thank you, sir, also. I also warmly welcome Ms. Kesang Yangom Sherpa, the officer of the Indian Revenue Service, and also a member secretary of the National Council of Teacher Education. A warm welcome to you, ma'am. I also welcome Dr. Jayesh S. Patel, Deputy Secretary, Academics of the National Council of Teacher Education, to this open house discussion today. I also extend a very warm welcome to Mr. Rishabh Khanna, whose expertise is in cognitive science, or I would call him a cognitive scientist, and who will be also giving a presentation on the National Professional Standards for Teachers. A hearty welcome also to Shri Dinesh K. Chaturvedi, Under Secretary, Academics, National Council of Teacher Education. I warmly welcome Ms. Nisha, also, who is currently there in New Delhi. I warmly welcome you to this open house discussion. And I think Ms. Nisha, along with Professor Nongri, our Dean School of Education, you have been communicating, for organizing this program, which should have been held in December, but for some unavoidable reasons, the program was not held. But I think your coordination with Madam Dean, we've been able to hold today. So a warm welcome to you, and also to Miss Monica, a very warm welcome to this open house discussion, which is a very important discussion today. I also warmly welcome our Dean, School of Education, Professor C. Nongri, who is also the organizer and who has been instrumental, I would say, in organizing this program today. Because of all the efforts and the efforts that she has put in, we are able to have this very important discussion. So a warm welcome to you, ma'am. Also a warm welcome to Professor S.M. Sungo, who was a former Dean, School of Education, a very senior professor of the Department of Education. I also welcome the joint coordinator of this program, Dr. Rihun Langrimbai, who along with Madam has been working together for the conduct of this program. I extend my heartiest welcome, I would say, to the 3 resource persons who have consented to give their to this program. And we have Professor R.C. Patel. Sir Patel is, I think is known to many of us. He has had a long association with this university and specifically the Department of Education. And in the different boards, he has, contributed greatly. And he has vast experience also, whether it is in research, whether it is teaching, whether it is in administration. We warmly welcome you, sir. And I'm sure that, many will benefit from your presentation today. I also welcome Professor Latika Sharma of the Department of Education, Punjab University. Ma'am, you also have an association with the Department of Education, and I'm grateful, for consenting to be part of this program. I also warmly welcome Professor G.K. Thakur, who is the head Department of Education, head of the Department of Psychology of Mahatma Gandhi Antara Kshatriya Hindi Vishwadhyaya, Central University, Wardha in Maharashtra. Sir, I know that your presentation today and your discussion, the expertise and the discussion that you will be giving today is going to be beneficial for this open house discussion. So warmly welcome you, sir, and a very warm welcome also to all the faculty members of the Department of Education, the guest faculty, and all the personalities who are there online, whether it is from the cities, the NCTs, and all the other dignitaries present and all the other participants. I warmly welcome you to this open house discussion on NEP 2020 today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Madam, for welcoming each and every one of us. Moving on with the program, I would like to invite our guest for today, Professor T.B. Shubha, who is our Honorable Vice Chancellor in charge, to address this gathering.
Good morning, everybody. First of all, let me wish you a very good morning to the faculty members of Education Department at NEHU. And some junior colleagues. Very good morning to also the NCT officials in Delhi and elsewhere. The resource persons for today's program, there are 3 or 4 of them, and the participants. Very good morning to all of you. I would just like to say a couple of things this morning by way of instigating the kind of discussion that might follow during the daytime. The NPST, there's no doubt that we need this. This is the need of the hour. Both the developed and developing countries are doing this, and we shouldn't lag behind in this effort. A lot of effort has gone into preparing this document on and NPST by NCTE. What I notice in this document, however, based on a very cursory glance this morning, actually, is the issue of implementation. This shall be done and that shall be done, and we have no disputes about that. I don't think there can be any debate about the objectives of NPST and what it wants to achieve. But where we seem to be lagging in this document is how shall we implement this, this vision, this mission? How shall we achieve it? How will you get the money from? Where will we get the trainers, good trainers? All these issues haven't been addressed. So I think during the daytime, if some attention could be directed towards how to implement this document, might be a very good idea. Now, regarding implementation, we have basically two issues. One issue is related to trainers. It's very, very difficult to get good trainers. And trainees, again, are very often certificate driven. They're interested only in the certificates. They're not really interested in getting the skills into under their skin. So this is one all India kind of a tendency that we need to fight against. Otherwise, it will be like the academic staff college run programs only. The other challenge is of funding. Implementing NPST requires a huge amount of funding, much larger than we might be able to imagine. But what happens in our country normally is this, that the amount sanctioned is almost half of what is required, and the amount actually released is only about 25% of what is required. And that too will come finally after a good lapse of time, when there would be price escalation for most of the things. So this is something that we also need to address, whether we have the money ready, or if you don't have the money ready, we need to get the money ready as well. These aspects need to be addressed as far as possible. Finally, I would like to I'd like the experts to discuss who is a teacher. Very often, the teacher has been imagined here as almost like a robot. You know, a teacher is not a robot. You cannot just upgrade his or her skills just by giving him or her training. And a teacher is a human being, first of all. A teacher has certain cultural constraints, cultural backgrounds, has certain emotional structures built into that person. And what a teacher does cannot always be measured in terms of quantitative terms. And this NCST document seems to aim at measuring success in terms of certain quantitative criteria. So which is not, I think, after 10 years, this is something that we need to really realize, that a teacher is not built in a day. A good teacher evolves over time, and also depends on the opportunities that the teacher gets to evolve himself or herself. And without realizing this dimension of a teacher, I think we'll not be able to achieve the objectives of NPST. Finally, I would also hope that it doesn't have the fate of this NPST will not be the same as the fate of LOCF, the Learning Outcome-Based Curriculum Framework, for which we worked very hard. I was chairman of one of the national committees, and we worked very hard. We met in different parts of the country. We prepared a document, but besides putting that document on the UGC website, nothing was really taken forward. I really hope that the level of so many education experts, educationists would not be wasted again, like LOCF that happened a couple of years before. With these words, I thank my colleagues once again for inviting me to this event and giving me opportunity to share a few thoughts with you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for your address to the gathering. It was a very effective address, and you have also been pointed out the importance of the teachers. So as I've understood, we're moving on from this. I've understood from Madam C. Nombri that the member secretary will have to attend an urgent meeting. So we'll move on to our next speaker for the day, that is Dr. Rajesh Patel, Deputy Secretary, NCTE, and for setting up the agenda of the event. Dr. Rajesh Patel is the Deputy Secretary Academics NCTE, and he has an MA, PhD education, MA English and PhD in education. He has 16 years of experience in the field of higher education as a lecturer, as well as an administrator. He has published over 7 papers, both in the national and international journals, and has also presented over 18 papers in the national and international conferences. So welcome you, sir, and we request you to take over. Dr. Rajesh Patel, we request you to take over.
Hello. Hello.
We can hear you now.
Hello.
Oh,
Thank you. Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, Dean School of Education, Head School of Education, panelists, the teacher educators, other faculty members, and the invited teachers. Very good morning to all of you. As it was discussed regarding the NEP 2020 focuses on quality of education and Indianized education. Part of this quality education, Ministry of Education has given responsibility for Hello. Am I audible now?
Yes, sir, you are.
Actually, there is a connectivity problem due to power fluctuation. So that's why problem is created. Now, as NEP 2020 focuses on the quality of education, as we all are aware of that, the quality of education is on the quality of teachers. And as a part of that, NCTE's prepared document, that is National Professional Standards for Teachers, that is NPST, just for the personal and professional development of a teacher and to assess them. It is a kind of document which will be helpful to the teachers for their career progression. Now, as a part of that, initially we have invited, NCT has invited suggestions online from the stakeholders, and around 2,560 suggestions have come from the field. And on the basis of that, the document in a draft mode was prepared, and in November, it was floated in public domain. Since then, NCTE is conducting open houses at different places across the nation to invite the suggestions regarding this NPST document. As a part of that, we have conducted this open house at your place, and we seek suggestions regarding the descriptors and the implementation aspects of that. Basically, till now, if we see all the policies which have come or implemented on us, those policies have come from the top to down. So it was created or policies were framed at the top level, and then it has come or implemented at the field level. And if we look at those, then there are policies which were very good or idealistic or very qualitative, but it has failed at the ground level. Now, presently, as per this implementation of NEP 2020, this is the framework or the document which is coming up from the field itself, from the stakeholders, so that we can have the best quality document as well as the practicability of that, as we are getting suggestions from the field, so that we can have the surety of implementation at the field level. So as a part of that, we have conducted this open house so that the teachers, teacher educators, faculties from the universities, and the other stakeholders can give their suggestions for the implementation of this document. So as you all are aware that in the document, there are 4 stages being given for the teachers, and the teachers will have to progress in those 4 dimensions of as a teacher, and it is linked with NEP 2020, the stream which is proposed by NEP 2020, that is 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. So in this line, we are happy to collaborate with you and have a suggestion from the field so that we can come out with a qualitative document as well as which can have the best implementation aspect or practicability. With this, I thank you all for collaborating with us, and thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, sir, for setting up the agenda for today's meeting and discussion. So we'll move on to our first technical session for today, the technical sessions. And for now, I will request Mr. Rishabh Khanna, the cognitive scientist, to present the, for his presentation on NPST.
जी और 2 कौन-कौन से मैटर लगे हैं?
Very good morning to everybody. Thank you so much for extending this invitation to me to share the thoughts and the presentation on national special.
उसको छोड़ो अभी आप.
I think somebody's mic is on. Can I please request other members to have their mic off? Thank you. So we are discussing today about, if not the most important, at least one of the most important documents that will be guiding the entire school education system of the country. We're talking about almost 1 crore teachers teaching in different parts of the country, in different schools. What kind of skill set should they be having? And as Honorable Vice Chancellor Sir pointed out, it's not just about accumulating certificates. It's about identifying what is the right skill set and how do we develop those skill set. And then how do we evaluate whether those skill sets have been acquired or they have been just, or just the certificates have been acquired. So as Dr. Jayesh Patel mentioned, these were some of the problem statements that the team started with. And, the entire team at NCTE, the entire committee, which was created, which was chaired by Professor Chandkiran Saluja and various dignitaries, various educationists from across the country. We all sat down and we put our heads together on how do we solve these ground level problems, right? We create this document, we identify, we researched professional standards in different parts of the world, different countries, then we mapped them, then we identified Indian ethos. Now, one major concern that came out was that will we be able to implement whatever we build? And that is why we first decided that we'll build a framework, we'll go back to the masses, we go back to the public, we go back to the educationists across the country and first ask them, do you all agree with this skill set? And while we all agree on the skill set, on the standards that we should be developing across the country, we also build an exhaustive implementation plan, a plan which has all the stakeholders as partners, a plan which has the right criteria, the right mindset, the right plan, and the right framework, that can be implemented across the country, across various states, various union territories, across 1 crore teachers. So today, my presentation is majorly focused on what are the skill set and what are the skill standards that we are talking about that we believe should be national professional standards for teachers. And I can assure you that the team is working really hard on building a plan in which all the stakeholders, right from departments of education in various universities, national bodies, state education bodies, schools, everybody becomes a part of implementation process, and it flows as a practically implementable process. So without further ado, I'm going to request all the participants and honorable organizers to let me share my screen. Yes, is my screen visible now? Let me try to present this. It's visible, right? A small thumbs up would really help everyone. Am I audible? Oh, got that. I saw. So great. So national professional standards for teachers, where are they coming from? We had this amazing presentation in the morning that this entire document has been conceptualized because of the vision in the National Education Policy 2020, and which has a very clear mention in para 5.20 that we want teachers to be at the core of education. And it comes from the thought that all kind of education, whether it's, whether it is, sorry, I think somebody just disconnected that. Give me a second. Yeah, and all education, whether it's school education, adult education, continuing education, everything should be impacted. And NEP says that if we put teachers at the center of all educational reforms, and if we build the teacher's skill set, if we build teachers' structural structures, we would be able to achieve a lot more than if we do it without that. So the entire document was conceptualized with 3 core pillars around teachers. The first was education and training. Now, we're not only just talking about pre-service education here, like what has been talked about till today. We're also talking about in-service education. We're talking about continuous professional development for teachers across their careers. So this would mean that this document would guide the curriculum for the pre-service education, which is the different kind of B.Eds and different pre-service education systems that will be coming up. And will also guide that throughout a career life cycle, right, from when somebody starts as a teacher to the next 20, 30 years till the time they don't retire, what kind of skill set should they continuously be focusing on? What should be the next milestone that they target? And then how do they develop that? That's the first pillar of NPST document. The second is support in practice. For the last so many decades now, we have been trying to help teachers with resources, with more curriculum structures, with better lesson plans now over the last 5-6 years with a lot of technology. But then all of that has been done with one intention, which is to support teachers. Now, how about having a guiding document that tells us exactly what kind of support would a teacher need at what career stage because of the skill set that they have? So second pillar became support in practice. And third, and the most important part, which also NEP very clearly targets and talks about, is career progression of teachers. You see, today, if a teacher has to progress in their careers, they have to literally move from being a PRT to a TGT and then to a PGT, and only then they progress to becoming leaders or administrators in different departments of education. NEP says that why should a primary school teacher, which now has been converted to foundational and preparatory stages, why should a primary school teacher be working for 10 years in primary school, and then now when they require or they want to grow, they have to move to middle school or senior school because they have to go to TGT or PGT. NEP clearly says that a foundational stage teacher should be able to grow in the foundational stage till the highest point, and from there directly go to administrative and leadership positions. Similarly, a teacher who wants to start teaching at secondary stage should be able to start teaching at secondary stage as a level 1 teacher, and then continuously grow in the secondary stage itself And then from there, move to administrative and leadership positions. So NPST, we took care of that as well while we were discussing this with the entire team members, with all the committee members. And we said, let's have 4 career stages for teachers at every stage of every level of school. So if somebody is starting as a beginner teacher in the foundational stage, they should be able to move higher and up in the up to 4 levels in the foundational stage itself. So these were the core pillars of the NPST document. What we are trying to target, what the NPST document is trying to target, is end-to-end life cycle management for teachers, right from teacher preparation, teacher recruitment, teacher skills, teacher appraisal, and also teacher promotion. So we're talking about a guiding document that tells somebody that, okay, should I become a teacher or not? And there should be something that tells them that, okay, teaching is not that, it's not a profession that you can just stand up and you think you have good communication skills, you enter a classroom and you can start teaching. No, there is a proper training required. So if you want to become a teacher, what kind of preparation would you require? The standards clearly talk about them, that as a beginner teacher as well, you would need these things. If you want to get recruited, what kind of skill set do you need to have? And so on and so forth, till the entire life cycle is achieved, a person would be guided by these standards. So what are these standards, and what are the stages that we're talking about here again and again? So as per NEP 2020, teachers should have career progression pathways. So we said, okay, a teacher who starts as a foundational stage should be able to start at level 1 as, let's say, a beginner teacher or Pragami Shikshak. Similarly, if a teacher wants to teach at the middle school or preparatory school or secondary school, they should also be able to start at beginner teacher or as a Pragami Shikshak. Now, they all start with these competencies that they have learned in their pre-service education, in their university, in their B.Ed colleges. Once they've achieved those skill sets, they start creating evidences around that in the B.Ed college itself, while their pre-service education itself, and that becomes a part of their skill portfolio, which has been evidenced and evaluated by the college, by the university at multiple levels. The guideline has been prepared, its implementation is there, which will be shared with various stakeholders from, once it is released. Once somebody achieves those competencies, they go through their national level teacher eligibility tests, which becomes a second check of their skill set, and then they're able to go ahead and they're able to then get recruited at different schools, at different organizations across the country. Then they move ahead, and once they're hired at the school, they start implementing those beginner teacher competencies. They start implementing those skills that they had acquired in the pre-service education. And then while they're implementing, they have a next target of moving to and becoming a proficient teacher in these first couple of years. Again, this would be this will be decided by various states, that they want the proficient teacher status to be achieved by every beginner teacher in 2 years or 3 years, which will be called the induction period. And how fast they want to achieve, depending on the state that they start working on. And they have to target achieving the skill set on the proficient teacher status, which is Praveen Shikshak. They have to achieve those competencies, again, create evidences. There's a complete list of competency-based assessments that have been created that these teachers have to achieve. And then once they've achieved that, they start practicing all those competencies in the classroom, and they start targeting the next career stage, which is the expert teacher, and finally the lead teacher. So a teacher is actually moving up the ladder in the same stage of the school, same level of school that they start teaching in and that they feel passionate about, without having the need of moving from one stage of the school to the other stage of the school just for the sake of receiving promotions, while their heart still lies in teaching that particular stage of the school. This all has been explained in detail in page 16 of the draft document, and I invite all of you to go through that if not already done. So we're talking about these 4 levels, but these 4 levels have specific skill sets and competencies. Now, these set of competencies have been divided into 4 major domains under National Professional Standards for Teachers, which is the core document that we're talking about today. These 4 domains are called core values and ethics. Again, we come from a country where our values and our ethos are the core of our existence, of our being. So we've kept that as the base structure, base competency for all the teachers, core values and ethics. Then comes professional knowledge and understanding. So these are those core concepts. These are those base concepts which really define the perception, the perspective of a teacher. So the basic knowledge and understanding they need to have about the profession, about learning, about teaching, about child psychology, everything comes under professional knowledge and understanding. Professional competence and practice, what directly gets implemented in the classroom, all those skills fall under professional competence and practice. And finally, professional development and growth, that how do teachers really get developed and grow continuously over their life cycles. We'll just take a little closer view on all four of them, and then we'll move ahead. So when we talk about core values and ethics, we're talking about right from constitutional values and professional ethics and values to even responsible and ethical use of technology, right? Last 2 years, I think we could have never imagined, but with COVID striking, all the teachers, what they did with technology, we have to be proud of the teachers of our country, across the country, right from rural to remote, even to urban. We were able to see those results that teachers brought out. I know there were problems. I know there were struggles. I know there was technology excess, problems. But then everybody who could manage with whatever, they made sure that somehow they reach out to the learners, they reach the learners, right? So all of those technology implementations that happened, they also led to unethical use of technology, whether by students or by teachers. So we've identified all of those areas and we've put them all as core values and ethics. And we're saying this forms the core of teachers' skill set, teacher competency, because they have to demonstrate and exhibit this while they're teaching on an everyday basis. Next becomes professional knowledge and understanding. As I was saying, this is the base knowledge that somebody needs to have even before they enter the classroom. This would include things like child psychology, which means factors that affect student learning, pedagogical knowledge, different kind of pedagogy, how do we use technology, how do we integrate it with education. So to create a perspective around this, professional knowledge and understanding usually consists of all those competencies that you can see in the classroom. You could evaluate in the classroom only and only if you are an educationist. A layman would not be able to see that a teacher is using child psychology here. A layman would not be able to see that this part of the lesson plan has been created this way because it is part of a bigger curriculum structure. So this is that base knowledge that somebody needs to have even before they become a teacher. The third domain then is professional competence and practice. These are learning plans, lesson delivery, how we deliver in the classroom, how do we communicate, how are we assessing, what are different classroom components, how a teacher manages those dynamics. So all of these things in the simplest form, if anybody enters the classroom as an observer, even a layman, they would be able to sit and they would be able to see that, okay, everything has been planned. So whatever even a layman can see happening in the classroom, that all usually falls under the professional competence and practice part. What teacher really practices inside the classroom is what falls under professional competence and practice. And finally, professional development growth. This was one domain which we really spent a lot of time on, we discussed thoroughly, and we said that we always seek this answer that who's responsible for teachers' growth? Is it the government? Is it the state departments? Is it the school? Is it the teacher herself? Is it the parent? Is it the students? And we say everybody is in their own capacity, but if a teacher herself or himself becomes accountable for their own professional development, the growth can be managed with other stakeholders as well. So we thought, why not add this as a key component right from the pre-service education, that a teacher has to be taught in the pre-service education. What is the importance of continuous professional development and growth? How do we keep identifying our learning needs continuously? How do we reflect and how do we get involved in reflective practices? What kind of engagement and participation needs to be done in learning communities? And all of these were put together as professional development and growth, which means making teachers accountable as well as responsible to identify their needs of development and then participating in the right professional development so that they can get the desired growth. These were the four components. If you see, they've been made pretty exhaustive so that a teacher or an individual who decides to become a teacher can see what really being a teacher is. And once somebody becomes a teacher, they have a guiding document to guide them throughout their journey. So these are the four domains. When we move ahead, just to have a perspective on the four stages of the teacher career, which is beginner teacher, proficient teacher, expert teacher, and lead teacher, and what these domains would look like them. I've just taken this example, and I've picked up 2 parts from domain 3, which is learning plans and assessment of, for, and as learning. Now, these are not exhaustive. There are many more domains and subdomains in the document, but just to give you an example, that let's say under learning plans, there's a subdomain on learning goals and outcomes using knowledge of students to support their learning. And as a beginner teacher, somebody would have to meet the competencies in beginner teacher column. As a proficient teacher, they will have to meet the competencies in the proficient teacher column. An expert teacher will have to meet the competencies in expert teacher, and finally the lead teacher in the lead teacher column. Now, this is progressive. Somebody who has been working with education, understands taxonomies, understands action verbs, they would be able to very clearly identify that this is a progressive skill set enhancement, where somebody starts from remembering, understanding level and goes on till creating level and leadership level in over the 4 stages of their teacher career. Now, important point here, very important point here, is that there are these competencies under beginner teacher, right? There's an entire list of competencies under beginner teacher. Somebody will be called a beginner teacher only once they have met all the competencies in the pre-service education. Once they have skill set and evidences of all the competencies, only then they become a beginner teacher. Does this mean that they are a beginner teacher, so they can't have lead teacher competencies in a couple of domains? Of course not. There might be people who are at a beginner teacher stage because all of their competencies, right from the first one to the last one in all the 4 domains are at beginner teacher. But some of them might be at lead teacher, but they will be called a lead teacher only when all of their competencies are at lead teacher stage, right? Similarly, let's say somebody moves to proficient teacher, they would be able to move to proficient teacher stage only once they've met all the competencies in proficient teacher stage, right? So that's how the document has been structured. A very important question again, that how would we evaluate these, right? It's very well made, everything has been put together, but how will we do it? Well, there are different roles that different stakeholders will play, right from NCTE, NCTQ, National Council of Education Research and Training, State Councils of Education Research and Training, DIETS. All of these stakeholders will be a part of implementation process. They would be given their particular roles. They would be working with universities, they would be working with the schools and building those implementation structures, which will be based on the guideline that comes from National Council of Teacher Education. But one major query that we would like to resolve here is that most of this evaluation, which might be done by different education bodies, education departments, will be based on competency-based assessment only, and would include various tools like 360-degree feedback from the students and parents, observation reports from peers and mentors, formal teacher knowledge assessments, self-assessment questionnaires, performance appraisal results. And if you see, these are majorly in the school structures that have been created, and then they will be accredited and assessed CPD programs. Honorable Vice Chancellor, Pro Vice Chancellor said, mentioned that, how would we be focusing on giving the right skill set and not just giving the certificate. So that's where NCT is already planning, accredited and assessed CPD programs with the right structures in place. And again, National Council of Teacher Quality, which is being set up under NCTE, will be responsible for that as well. Then we'll be working on identifying and evaluating teacher developed resources, building a system of recognition of prior learning. There would be presentations, there would be learning data, and all of these things will be put together as a teacher skill, under a teacher skill portfolio, as a teacher skill portfolio, which would be evaluated by the state departments, by the central departments, to finally give the next stage or next status of teacher competence to any teacher and every teacher. And all of these tools, everything will be created, will be used with NPST as its guiding document. So that's the short presentation from my side on NPST, that's National Professional Standards of Teaching, for teachers under National Education Policy 2020. And I thank you all for giving me a patient hearing. Back to the hosts. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your insights into the national standards national professional standards of teachers, and for highlighting on their growth, values, and ethics, as well as the professional knowledge, as well as on the basis of the evaluation. Now we are going to move on to the most important discussion, that is the panel discussion. I would like to welcome our moderator of the panel discussion, Professor S.M. Sungo. Our panelists for today include Professor J.K. Thakur, who is the head Department of Education, Department of Psychology, MG Mahatma Gandhi, MG AHB Central University. I also like to introduce to you Professor Latika Sharma from the Department of Education, Punjab University. We also have among us Professors R.C. Patel, Head and Professor, Department of Education, Dean Faculty of Education and Psychology, DMS University of Baroda. Then we also have our own panelist, Professor C. Nombri, who is the Dean School of Education. So Professor G.K. Thakur will be discussing on the understanding teachers as a profession, evolving roles of teachers and teacher education under NEP 2020. Professor Latika Sharma will be presenting on professional standards, its importance and framework to assess professional standards. Then Professor R.C. Patel will be presenting on national professional standards for teacher, NPST, teacher career progression in NPST, and areas and standards of NPST. And Professor C. Nombri will be presenting on the importance of NPST in the context of Meghalaya. So, Madam, I will hand this over to our moderator for today, Professor S.M. Sungo. Ma'am.
Thank you so much, Dr. Yodia, for that introduction. First of all, I would like to welcome all the panelists, Professor G.K. Thakur, Professor Latika Sharma, and Professor R.C. Patel, and Professor C. Nombri. All these three dignitaries and experts will be deliberating on the different issues which have been given in the program. And I'm sure that all of us are waiting for the discussion part. And first of all, I would like to welcome all the panelists in a special way. I would also like to welcome all the participants to this program. And I wish and pray that this program will be beneficial and we can make good recommendations and also suggestions. Now, before I start, I would like to speak a little bit on the panel discussion that we are going to have right now. Now, we all know that teaching is a process that facilitates learning. So teaching is a specialized application of knowledge, skills, and attributes designed to provide unique service to meet the educational needs of the individual as well as a society. So the choice of learning activities actually is to achieve the goals of education, and these are realized as a responsibility of the teaching profession. So in addition to providing students with learning opportunities to meet curriculum outcomes, teaching emphasizes the development of values and guides students in their social relationships. So teachers should employ practices that develop positive self-concept in students. Although the work of the teachers typically takes a place in a classroom setting, the direct interaction between teacher and student is the single most important element in teaching. So we're very happy that we have 4 panelists with us to discuss on the teaching profession. First of all, I would like to welcome Professor G.K. Thakur. Professor G.K. Thakur will be speaking on understanding teaching as a profession, evolving roles of teachers and teacher education under NEP 2020. So over to you, Professor G.K. Thakur.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks for inviting me to be a part of this occasion. And I would like to congratulate first the Department of Education, School of Education of NEHU to be a part of this process where this national education policy through its implementation is going to do something we hope better for teachers, for education as a process of society building, and for our next generation as the main role of teachers we envisage. I am grateful to Honorable Vice Chancellor of NEHU and Professor Nongri and head of the Department of Education of NEHU and all the organizing team, as well as the NCTE for initiating this process of national level consultation. Yeah, definitely we have just listened to Mr. Rishabh Khanna's deliberation on the issue. And though I was in some different circumstances, I had requested ma'am, but then somehow I'm going to speak my mind about this. So, like, all of us know this teachers, all these notions about teaching and all the notions about teachers are from time immemorial, and we have been deliberating on what a teacher should be like, what should be the real professional ethics of teacher, professional standards of teacher. I remember in one of such deliberations, somebody asked what is the difference between teacher and guru, and then different sorts of ideas were going on. I believe that teaching as a profession, if we talk of the main job of a teacher is to inspire, to motivate the students to achieve what is expected from them, to achieve what they plan to achieve, or what their family, their society, the surroundings, or the society in general wishes an individual or as a member of the society should achieve, should not just achieve on a personal front, but also to give back to the society. So what kind of individual a teacher is supposed to develop, help develop? In that way, a teacher's role become very crucial. And that is all we have been studying in different textbooks or reference books and all that, what speaks about the role of teachers. Teaching, if we talk of a profession, like a profession, so teachers are of different kinds. Some are not professional teachers, and some are like, doing things commercially, some are doing things in government setup, some are doing their job in private setup. Some are like Anand Kumar of Bihar. I was just wondering that if as teachers, if school teachers are supposed to prepare students for their better career and to become a good human being, and if in the same country we have different levels of educational institutions like schools are there. Then after passing out 10th and 12th, particularly when students are supposed to go for the higher education sector, and if they are supposed to choose their career as per their choices that they make, I just take an example of IITs in our country. And so aren't our school teachers efficient enough to prepare our students to join IIT successfully? Why are these coaching institutions then flourishing? Then at the same time, those institutions in other places where commercially they are thriving, there are others. There are others like Anand Kumar, which I just cited, that in the capital of Bihar, this man started working on children of poor families, Super 30, if you might have heard of. And then he started preparing them for IIT entrance examination. And in the very first year, the 30 students that he chose, out of 30, 18 entered into IITs for different engineering programs. He doesn't take any fees, or he doesn't charge any fees from such students. So even, and then there are some students which are enrolled in the same institutions on a different pattern. But talking of Super 30, if we just look at the system, then this question arises in mind, that why is this situation that such institutions are excelling in their field, and then students sometimes, like nowadays, dummy schooling concept is thriving, that students after 10th enroll in some senior secondary level schools, and then their attendance is being marked, and then they join a full-time coaching institutions to get into good engineering institutions or some medical institutions, sort of things. So why is this? Why our institutional teachers are not able to provide such kind of education that they are diverted towards these coaching institutions for their success in competitive examinations? So aren't school systems supposed to prepare our students for such career building education? One thing is that. The other issue is definitely very sensitive, but then very serious, that this national education policy talks about the value deterioration that has become a phenomena in the past couple of decades all through. And this is not just India we are talking about, this is a global situation. So the value inculcation is very important, and even that teachers are to shoulder such responsibility of imbibing good values, our own cultural values, our own social values, family values that we are supposed to grow up with. And only then we become a good member, good citizen of society, giving back to society as a gesture of our being gratefulness, being grateful. So, like, what should a teacher do? And if teaching is a profession, then we have to set some parameters, as you could see in the presentation of Mr. Rishabh Khanna. There are different levels. They have envisaged that the beginners, then middle cadre teachers, and senior cadre teachers, all these things have been envisaged in national education policy. This NPST, National Professional Standards of for Teachers document. This evolving situation, this evolving role of teacher is that we need to talk about. We are all teacher educators. I am sure that some teachers are there on this platform, on this virtual platform, have joined this deliberation. We are from a generation where we have seen teachers as some says on the stage, or some great, the great knower, the ultimate knowledgeable person, and the ultimate authority of knowledge that we have seen in our schooling days. And, we have been groomed up in such circumstances, such learning environment. No doubt, we come from a generation and we boast of that. We pat our shoulder back that, we belong to such a generation where human values were at the most importance. These things are there, but at the same time, we have to think that the role of teacher, at least at the notional level, at least at the envisaged conceptualization level, has evolved differently. Now, teacher is not somebody, the ultimate authority with the explosion of knowledge, with the Google in hand at the palm. Now, everything a teacher is definitely not supposed to know, that is beyond the cognitive capacity of an individual. And then everything, if the student has a mobile or laptop or iPad or something, or tab, so the information access is not a barrier, is not an issue with the student. So then the role of a teacher is not just a content provider, it's not just a study material provider. A teacher is someone who helps students translate this information into knowledge. And along with knowledge, the value integration with the kind of stuff that we find every day on the open educational resources or web spaces. So we have to choose what is right and what is wrong. We have to choose which content is better, which content is not. And then a teacher's role is not just to impose what should be the ideal form of knowledge and what should exactly the student must know. So a teacher becomes imperative in terms of helping students to create their own knowledge. A teacher's role is to facilitate students to set up a learning environment where student can create their own knowledge, construct their own knowledge. That is the role that is the paradigm shift, in fact, from some couple of decades back to the present days. At the same time, now, particularly in past 2 years, we have seen, because of this pandemic, at least all the teachers were compelled to resort to technological uses. And we have seen, we were not prepared at that time when this COVID outbroke, but then somehow we got into the stream of creating this teaching learning process, launching this teaching learning process with the help of ICT, with the help of technology. And then that technology, this ICT, brings a lot of different issues to deliberate upon. And we have to think that a teacher's role to create that learning environment includes he himself or she herself should be much proficient in technological uses of things that make our teaching learning process more smooth, better. It is not that is the only way to have this teaching learning process in motion, but we have to, present day's teacher's responsibility. And this is not about talking about ICT and only these things. Teachers are engulfed, as pointed towards, that teachers are facing different challenges on multiple fronts. They are loaded in government sectors. They are loaded with like number of non-teaching responsibilities, be it midday meal, be it preparing ration card, be it doing any sort of survey. They are supposed to go to home, door to door for collecting, gathering information and all that. So all these non-academic, non-teaching roles are assigned to them. This national education policy states that, okay, now the teachers will not be imposed with those such responsibilities that are wastage. We just can pray, we just can hope that this the education policy has envisaged actually comes true when authorities are deciding what work is to be given to the teachers and what not to be given to them. So these are the things where teachers are loaded with. Teachers' expectations are there that they have to facilitate learning process, they have to inspire, they have to motivate students, they should be technologically advanced, and then they are grappling with the issue of these things, non-academic, non-teaching assignments. These things are there. The third part that I just had in my mind was that what Mr. Rishabh Khanna talked about, CPD, continuous professional development of teachers. Particularly, we see in government institutions or in higher educations, there are some compulsions for faculty members to do some refresher courses, to do some induction courses for their advancement in careers. At the school level, system is not so clear so far. There may be some of the organizations where systems could be having certain clarity, but in general, and we know in our country, a number of the private school system will outnumber the government school system in a way. So there should be similarity in terms of service conditions of teachers, and then these private management should spare them for joining and getting into the CPD at different levels of their teaching. These things are there where some provisions are to be laid down by the government, by the authority, and that should be strictly enforced. Only then these private school teachers will have this opportunity to get into this professional development program. And even after they get into this professional development program, they come up with some certifications. What next? Do they get something as reward, something as increment of in their salary and service conditions? But these things have to be looked into. So setting a professional standard is very important, but its implementation is more important. And implementation has to be scrutinized very strongly, very clearly. Only then things can definitely going to be achieved the way this policy envisages, and this the way this National Professional Standards for Teachers document envisages. One last thing that teachers are supposed to, everything that we are expecting everything from teachers, we are loading them with so many other things, so many different things, and with the constraints in terms of opportunities of CPD for certain sectors of teachers. One thing that definitely should be expected from them, that teachers are, if they are the facilitator, do they have any plan in the beginning of the academic year that what exactly they are supposed to develop in their students? Now, all of us know that this Indian education system is examination centric. The whole process of education is running after examination. Students run after examinations, getting good scores so that they can get into another institutions, higher education institutions. So everything revolves around examination. But we exactly have somehow, if it would be not wrong if say that we have not been successful in words and spirit of the examination system. What examination system is meant for? Examination system is not meant for just scores, achieving scores. If we say that by education, we mean to develop these competencies in our students. If we say that by education, with the means of education, we are supposed to develop these sets of skills, life skills, professional skills, competencies, helping them prepare them for a better life and to compete with other counterparts globally, then do we really plan how to initiate this teaching learning process, how to create this learning ecology, what to contribute from our side, how to inspire them to become a part of that and to develop in them those competencies, skills, different things. And afterwards, what do we do to assess whether these competencies, these set of skills are really developed in them? Is our examination system really in tune with what is envisaged in the objectives, what is articulated in the objectives of any curriculum? Is our examination system really resonating with that, in tune with, aligned with that? I feel no, it is not. So there are certain things that only the semester end examination or the year end examination cannot help. Teachers are the genuine, having that autonomy when they are in the classroom, even beyond classroom, in the school setup. They are the one having that autonomy, that they are dealing with the students and they are supposed to develop in them certain things with different means they have. It is not about the syllabus or curriculum or what the policymakers decide for them, or what the question setters decide for the year-end examination. Throughout this academic year and the classroom transaction process, it is up to them to, devise, design, strategy, and have clear focus on how to achieve the objectives, or how to develop those competencies and skills in our students. So here the teacher's role become very important, that that they are the one who have to decide and who have to inspire students to achieve the way the curriculum envisages, the way education policy envisages, the way the objectives have been articulated. So there comes the professional ethics. Are we really sincere? Are we really inclined to our profession? Do we have that commitment? Do we have that only we are supposed to complete the syllabus or curriculum and do not go beyond that, or we can spare extra time, energy, and bent of mind to develop those things in our students which are supposed to be developed in them? These things are there, different. It is not that only these things which have been articulated by the NPST documents are the only mantras to achieve everything. No, there is no particularly prescribed capsule that will be the ultimate solution to make a good teacher, to make a dedicated, committed teacher. Teachers themselves have to think. All of us, all the stakeholders' responsibility is to think in tune with what the national objectives, what the educational objectives for the society expect from all of us to do something to achieve such things. So I feel that this NPST document, whatever it has, it is still in the process of making. I believe that after this consultation phase is different phase, that 15 institutions all over country will be over, and then some definitely good things will come up. And with all your suggestions, with all your feedback, these things will come up. We know we have our own issues, we have our own lacuna, we have different challenges, but amidst all, it is our duty for our nation, for our society, for our next generation to have such teachers in our schools, beyond schools, that they can develop the kind of person, the kind of citizen we need in our society, so that the local level, regional level, national level, and global level aspirations could be met in appropriately. That's all I would like to say at the moment. And I again extend my heartfelt gratitude to Professor Nongri, Dean, School of Education, Head of the Department of Education, Vice Chancellor, and all these dignitaries who are present, and for giving me this opportunity to share my mind with you. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor G.K. Thakur, for that deliberation and for elaborating and making us understand very clearly the issues which relates to teaching profession. I know we have so many challenges and we also have many problems relating to teaching, but I'm sure that the deliberations that we are having now will be able to help each and every teacher to understand their roles in the classroom as well as in the society as a whole. So, Professor Thakur has already given us, in a nutshell, the importance of teaching and how we should regard teaching as a profession. So, we will keep the questions and also the queries after the others have deliberated about upon other issues as well. So, Professor Thakur, thank you so much for that talk that you have given us and the clarifications and also the thoughts that you have put forth in order for us to be able to understand the importance of teaching profession. And please keep in mind, my dear participants, you can just write down the questions, or maybe if you want any queries, we will have the discussion session after the panel discussion. Now, next, I will call upon Professor Latika Sharma. Professor Latika Sharma. She will be speaking on professional standards, its importance and framework to assess professional standards. Over to you, Professor Latika Sharma.
Thank you, madam, for inviting me to this very important program on NPST, National Performance Standards for Teachers. I have a very dear association with Northeastern Hill University, Shillong, with their students, Department of Education, researchers, and I'm very happy to be with you this morning. At the outset, I want to thank the Vice Chancellor, the Dean, the Chairperson of the department, and all the teachers and students who are participating and making this program a success. I'm also very thankful to my co-panelists to share their wisdom with us so that all of us can be part of this learning journey where we are trying to take education at global level of expertise, where we are trying to build a cadre of teachers who can really lift the nation. The people can be equipped with the 21st century skills and they have their roots in their traditions. So being local as well as global with this aim, how we the teachers are hand-holding our budding teachers, that is the concern right now. The document NPST, National Performance Standards for Teachers, has been designed so that teachers at all levels of school education are motivated, they are qualified, they are professionally trained, they are well equipped, and they are well supported for their growth in their careers. They are able to meet the challenges of not only classroom teaching, but their own continuous professional development. They are able to keep at par with the best of teachers in the world as we are thinking about internationalization of education as well. I would like to share my screen and continue the rest of the presentation. Is the screen visible?
Yes, it's readable.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, we know that the national education policy gives importance to the teacher. All those lofty goals that we have kept for ourselves for transformation in education will be possible when teachers are equipped, that when teachers are oriented towards transforming education, towards making it holistic. Now, to achieve this goal of holistic and quality education, development of teachers is at the center of all reforms. And for this, the policy has mandated that National Council for Teacher Education will now become professional standard setting body, and it will develop the national professional set standards for teachers. We have the preliminary draft with us, which is in everybody's domain. My dear friends, we are part of a large democracy, and the pillars of democracy are very close to the pillars of learning, which were given by the report, The Treasure Within. I would like to draw your attention towards a yantra which will happen, the activation of which is actually going to make every teacher responsible for the work which one is doing. You all know that we, the people, we have given ourselves the constitutional values of justice, fraternity, equality, liberty. The preamble of the Constitution, which appears in every NCERT book, familiarizes every student with these four pillars of our Constitution. We also know that it is possible to keep on learning, to keep on adapting to the new world, to keep on increasing our skills, to learn, unlearn, and relearn only when a democratic atmosphere is there. So democracy actually begins in the classroom, and it begins when the teacher has belief in democratic values. My dear friends, here is the construction of this yantra. Let us say that you have this pandal, the mandapam with four pillars of your, firstly, the environment around us, which is a democratic environment of liberty, equality, fraternity, and justice. In this, you juxtapose another layer of mandapam. Let us say the first one is a colorful mandapam with four pillars, golden pillars, and then we have these four other strong pillars of learning, which are learning to know, acquire knowledge, learning to do, acquire skills, learning to live together harmoniously, building teams, working together, understanding interdependence, and then learning to make our identity. We know as students of education about the tripolar process of education, where the teacher, student, and the environment interact with each other. Now, these three concepts, when juxtaposed, this is what we get. If you see that we move from an environment, an enabling environment, towards a learning environment and towards the treasure within. Daily, whatever we do in our interactions in the classrooms, whatever we do in the university departments reaches the schools. From the schools, it reaches the students, and from the students, it reaches the wider community, which may or may not be within the classrooms. So the learning, informal, non-formal, and formal, which takes place, it leads to building up an environment which is enabling for all. When we are talking about holistic education, isn't this what we are talking about? So friends, our aim is to see how the performance standards are set so that every teacher understands the value of these core principles. The professional standards for teachers They cover expectations of the role of teacher at different stages of expertise. They may be beginners, they may be in-service teachers, what kind of competencies they should enter the profession with, and while they are within the profession, as per their felt needs, as per the needs of the institution, as per the evolving needs of the learners, how do they improve their expertise? It also comprises standards for performance appraisal at each stage, which have to be carried out at periodic basis. At this point, I would like to say that though the document has come and it is under discussion, we must not lose the sight of self-appraisal by teacher. Self-appraisal by teacher is most important because every dedicated teacher is always comparing her performance with her previous performance as a reflective practitioner. Whatever she is doing in the classrooms, the challenges, the new questions which the students are putting or they are silent about, all that is going on in the mind of a reflective practitioner, a reflective teacher. Hence, self-appraisal should not be lost sight of in our very, very logical and stage-wise performance appraisal. The purpose of NPST is to ensure that all teachers grow in their careers. Friends, as students of education, we have seen that in order to build quality teachers, the efforts have been going on ever since we started teacher education. So we have been talking about teacher competency, teacher efficiency, teachers self-efficacy, and also of teacher leadership. In our view of marshalling the teachers into a proposed behavior, let us not lose sight of teachers' own creativity, teachers' own informal leadership skills, because no matter in what kind of school or what kind of environment a teacher is working, every teacher has a very passionate need to share, to help others grow. The NEP 2020 provisions for improving teacher readiness, as given in the document, are displayed on the screen. The various stages at which the teacher readiness will be addressed by the performance standards will be the very basic pre-service teacher education, then the roles of teacher educators, let's say right from early childhood care or foundation education, primary education teachers, secondary education teachers, vocational education teachers, higher education teachers, and so on. So how are the teacher educators going to give a hand holding both at pre-service and in-service stages of different levels of teachers? Then it also talks about career management. There is a special focus on special education because it requires not only the sharing, caring tendencies of a knowledgeable teacher, it requires certain special expertise also. So how are we going to integrate the special education trainings in the trainings at pre-service and in-service level for all teachers? The mandatory professional development is not only going to take place in institutions of teacher development, but also at the level of teacher herself. I'm sure that we are looking at self-appraisal by teacher and recording of the efforts of the teacher to connect across disciplines, to connect to the community, to develop her own skills, to adopt research-based pedagogies at her own level, to connect not only in offline but in online mode across nations to get the best practices. So when we are talking about teacher development, three factors feature the most: the context factors, the process factors, and the governance factors. The context factors, now these factors are not new. We know about them when we have seen researches on teacher efficiency, which are quite a large in number. And I'm sure that whatever is percolating to this document of NPST has come after reviewing a lot of researches. So, reiterating what has been said, context factors relate to quality of institutions which provide pre-service and continuing professional education for teachers. It includes the quality of educators who train teachers and other support staff. So the context where training is taking place is very important, and herein comes the organizational climate, structure, and the changes which are coming at the training centers. Then the process. The process factor relates to the curricula and the programs of the institutions. The type of programs which may be skill-based, which may be competency-based, which may be social commitment-based, which may be artificial intelligence-based, and what are they going to offer? How the curriculum will be transacted? How the curriculum will be evaluated? So what is it that we are offering to the training teacher? Why should a trainee teacher attend a program? So the process factor is in fact the heart of the matter. We may have all the hardware, unless we have a curricula, unless we have those programs which are actually need-based, where the teacher is fumbling, where the teacher is looking for answers. That is where we have to keep on providing need-based programs based on the principles of lifelong learning, based on the principles of andragogy, where need-based and programs designed on the felt needs of the learners, which are our trainee teachers, which are our in-service teachers, they are provided. And it is the outcome of these programs which is actually going to determine the quality.
Hello. Somebody.
It's all right. Let's move on to the third factor. We know that best of programs and best of institutions with all the infrastructure will fail to achieve their objective unless the governance is spruced up. So the overall management, control of the institutions, the hierarchy of communication or the linearity of communication, the kind of management which is working, is it top down, is it linear, is it horizontal? What are the policies to address grievances? How much openness is there to improve, to constantly monitor, improve, and do hand holding for the teachers, for the teacher programs? These are of great concern. Now, one thing which comes again and again to mind is, what standards are we talking about? In what way do we define standards? The document has given very brief statements about standards. Now, standards can be taken as benchmark for measurement of professional performance so that competent and quality performance is achieved. Standards are the statements that reflect what is valued in the profession, what is quality teaching, with an underlying assumption that what quality learning is. My dear friends, you will see again and again we are using the word quality. I think when I critically analyze these statements, the focus again and again has to be, is quality to be defined universally for all, or is everyone setting their own parameters of quality? So when we are reviewing this document, we need to outline certain acceptable, universally acceptable parameters of quality, which are going to be the benchmarks for standards. The NPST document gives us a framework which will provide comprehensive teaching skills as per the following bullets. First of all, defining the expectation of the role of teachers at different levels. So, what will be the specific role of a teacher at foundational stage as compared to what will be the role of teachers at the secondary stage? As an example, we can see that at the foundational level, a lot of understanding of child psychology, of growth and development is required. The teachers have to be energetic, they have to be creative, they have to have love for the small children, and also an understanding about the very, very important role of providing foundations for education. The foundational stage is going to build the interest, the engagement of the learner to go forward in education, whether in the formal sector or to the non-formal sector. But the foundational stage is going to set a foundation for entire life. We all know in the pyramid of education, not all of those who enter education are able to reach the next stage. Hence, every stage is very important. This importance has to percolate to the teacher trainees when we are defining expectations of the role of teachers at different levels of expertise and at different stages. When we are saying at different levels of expertise, we are taking the entire gamut of pre-service to different stages of different uh, um, number of years of experience that teachers are having. Also, there are teachers who are teaching a number of subjects, and there are subject-specific teachers. Now, even in those subject-specific teachers, there are personal attributes which can enhance their role. So when we are focusing uh, on the standards, it is important to take into consideration the abilities, the potentials of the teachers also, in which, by utilizing which, rather than suppressing those, we have to utilize those for enhancing the teaching learning environment. So the second skill framework bullet, it talks about designing the initial professional preparation as well as continuing professional development of teachers, a direct indicator for the role of teacher educators. Clarifying the competencies required by teachers. This can be further explained for different levels of teachers, different levels of education at which the teachers are going to work. Explaining the performance criteria at each career stage. There has been some feedback which I have been able to read that the performance standards may not be linked to career stages. Such feedbacks have come. Well, these can be looked into. Managing teachers' careers, including tenure after the probationary tenure track period. This is something which the new teachers are going to face as a new working environment, in which there will be a probation period, there will be a tenure track period following that. So how do you manage your career responsibilities? How do you manage your different professional roles? On that depends how you progress in your career. Addressing the professional development pathways. It is not just one linear path. You can take a number of different pathways and grow in your professions. This is to address the need, a crying need where teachers feel themselves stagnated. Giving guidelines in conducting, undertaking performance appraisal for salary increase, promotions, and other recognitions. And finally, streamlining the teacher evaluation. The framework to assess teacher standards is a well-structured and competent governance system in which policy setting, planning, execution, and performance tracking will take place. Separate institutions will be designed clear responsibilities to regulate, prepare, develop, and utilize the teaching professionals efficiently. Now, it is for us to see that where the overlap of responsibilities is taking place? Are we missing out on certain areas, thinking that another organization is taking care of it? The professional standards have been used as a regulatory framework as well over the entire teaching profession, mainly due to the fact that teaching accreditation and licensing rely on teachers passing the certification process. So this is for the pre-service where you are getting a certificate to teach. Now, along with this, we need to work on the quality assurance tools that those who are entering the pre-service teacher education program, what with what quality level do they come out? So when teachers enter into their institutions and start performing, at that time, will the training translate into actual improvement of classroom practices? That will be seen by quality assurance tools, and there will be accreditation frameworks as well. Now, the 6 key areas which have been given pictorially in the document, they cover the vision, goals, teaching standards domains, competency levels, governance, and organizational structure. You will all agree that all of them are linked to each other. This is a figure which all those who have gone through the document are familiar with. We see that nothing moves forward without a vision. There has to be a vision, and then the vision carries the idea for which the time and space framework decides whether that idea gets executed or not. So in the time and space framework, we have to see what are the resources. So mark my 3 components: idea, time and space framework, resources, and then the actions taken. When we use those resources to move towards the execution of the idea, then certain end products result, certain outcomes ensue. And from those outcomes, we see whether this has been successful or what changes or modifications are required. Well, the present structure very clearly gives us 3 goals: preparation goals, development goals, and growth goals. We all know that priority-wise, we are at the preparation level. The domains of standards are related to content standards, measurement standards, performance standards, and ethical standards. When we are talking about ethical standards, we will take into cognition the constitutional and professional ethics. When we are talking about performance standards, we are talking about how well the teacher is able to teach, what kind of research-based pedagogies are being used. Are 21st century skills part of the teacher's skill sets also? When we're talking about measurement standards, they are related to all the appraisals, and content standards, of course, relate to the knowledge. Competence levels have been defined from 1 to 4, and for the governance, we have an outlay of roles and responsibilities, procedures and policies for assessment and accreditation, etc., performance criteria, and measurement. For the organizational structure, there has to be a regulatory body, then development and implementation body. Under that, we have teacher education colleges, teacher training colleges, and schools and ed tech firms. Now, some of the reviewers have questioned the role of educational technology firms. Perhaps it is the vision of the framers that since not all training college administrators or existing organizations are equipped with high-tech information, knowledge, IT structures. So there will be a partnership with the educational technology firms to use digitization and to in order to document the progress of teachers. We need to think about it as we engage in the framework to build the competencies of the teachers and also to assess them. I would like all of us to engage in this enterprise by using our experiences and also giving feedback to the governing agencies. Thank you.
Thank you so much, madam, for that deliberation. And thank you for giving us the items and also the issues relating to professional standards. And you have also mentioned about the importance and also the framework to assess professional standards. So Professor Latika Sharma has made the points clear to us, and how we can equip ourselves as teachers in the 21st century. So we need to inculcate these 21st century skills. But how do we do it? Now, there are certain standards which we need to follow, and there are also certain, strategies that needs to be worked on. So this policy has emphasized that, the quality of teachers should be good, and how do we ensure that this quality is being emphasized in the teacher education institutions. So madam has spoken about the constitutional values, the pillars of learning, and how NEP has stressed on the professional standards of teachers. And she has spoken about the evaluation and the assessment of teachers, and that is why it is very important for us to understand this policy, so that we will be able to give us suggestions from our side and how we can implement it. So madam, thank you so much for the clarifications and also for the explanation that you have given on the standards, professional standards of teachers. Now I think we can ask the participants to just keep their questions and also their queries. And at the end of the panel, as I've said, we will be having a discussion on it. Thank you, madam. Now we move over to Professor R.C. Patel's speech on National Professional Standards for Teachers, Teacher Career Progression in NPST and the Areas and Standards of NPST. So at this point of time, I would like to request Professor R.C. Patel to speak on this particular topic.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, sir.
Professor Nangui, the Dean School of Education, Professor Nivalani, Head Department of Education, Sri Pritam Singh, Cabinet Secretary, and Sri Nikita Trivedi, Under Secretary, both representing NCP. I take this opportunity to thank both NEHU and NEHU for being with us the profession and its importance, and I will ask you about NPST. So I begin with this NPST. You know that NEP 2020 has highlighted all the important aspects, that is literacy and numeracy, how to curtail dropout, and school curriculum pedagogy, teachers, equitable and inclusive education, efficient resourcing and efficient government, and standard setting and accreditation. Under the has talked about a common guiding set of NPST that has to be or that should be developed by NCTE. So in this entire presentation, I'm going to talk about some of the important features which this document has talked about. Now, see, when we talk teaching as a profession, that this requires a special kind of training and especially one that needs a high level of training. Important. There are a set of norms that each behavior that all members of the profession must follow. A governing body can represent the group's interests typically agrees with this set of norms. This document is talking about the need of a teacher that our country requires. It is talking about a teacher at all levels of school who are passionate, motivated, highly qualified, professionally trained, very good, and well supported for growth in their career. Now, see, if we require this kind of teacher, and definitely require this kind of teacher, how to achieve this purpose. For which this document, it defines teaching quality and requirement for improving students' educational outcome. Now we know that this is we all talk about outcome-based education. So in order to achieve this outcome-based education, we require a specially trained teacher. And then these standards and guiding statements define the role of a teacher at different levels of expertise at different stages of a career and also illustrate effective teaching practices and competencies delivered to the 21st century. When we talk of this kind of teacher as a requirement, NEP 2020 has or is bringing a major structural change in our school education. We know earlier at the pre-primary education system, we didn't have any standard structure across the country. Now we revise the MIA structure in 5+3+3+4. It requires not only these structural changes, but also the pedagogical and curriculum changes. And this amendment will affect teachers at all levels, right from foundational to secondary, higher secondary level. Structural change in school education will require, as I told you earlier, both the pedagogy and the curricular changes. And at all levels, this will also require perhaps the revise or the new recruitment tools for all the levels and corresponding changes in teacher education system of them. Now let us see how the teacher in the revised structures will be trained. So for this NPST, we give directions to the research training institutions which are to be incorporated into their curricular practices and all their educational programs. And when these teacher training institutions are expected to bring about changes in their educational programs, they will be required to focus on 4 major dimensions which the framework talks about. And they are the core values and ethics, professional knowledge and understanding, professional competency and practice, and the professional development and growth. Now let us try to see each one of them in a little more detail. A teacher essentially requires to possess knowledge and understanding and skill in all these 4 dimensions. One of them is the core values and ethics that talks about the constitutional values which have been described in our constitution, the professional ethics, commitment to the students, professional relationship, commitment to the profession, and responsible and ethical use of technology. The second most important dimension for any teacher is the professional knowledge and understanding. Now, this requires the knowledge in subject area, knowledge about how students learn, knowledge about sustain and age-appropriate pedagogy, correspondingly the curriculum and the structuring and restructuring of the curriculum, and then integration of technology in teaching, learning, and assessment. But here, only knowledge and understanding of what this is not required. It needs to be acquired by the teacher. So, the professional competencies and practices is the other dimension which a teacher needs to apply. And this will be reflected in the form of the learning plans which teacher is required to prepare, the lesson delivery, the classroom components and dynamics, effective classroom communication, and assessment of learning, assessment their learning, and assessment for learning. And another dimension is about professional development and work. Once the teacher has acquired this core value and has knowledge of profession and its understanding, and also has acquired all these competencies, then the next important dimension is growth of teacher from one to another. And for this growth, the teacher learning is the reflection by teacher and then engagement and participation in learning community. So these are two dimensions. We also have been further described in details, which I think they all get studies from the document and available to all. Now let us try to see how this NPST will work for more people. This is an example from the document itself. As I told you earlier, NPST will give guidance to pre-semester training institutions to revise or to modify the curriculum as per the need and requirement of the country. Now, anybody who inspires to be a teacher will go to this institution, undertake the training, and during this training, this will also be assessed on the prerequisite training and assessment skills. And once the EC acquires the skills, will be put as a beginner teacher at the appropriate level. It could be foundational, secondary, middle, or secondary level. Before getting this, the teacher, beginner teacher, will be required to appear for that teacher eligibility test. You will also have to register in the National Teacher Registry. The teacher also will be required to test the interview. And then, remarkably enough, the combined performance at the teacher training institution and the interview, the teacher will be ranked and then will be offered a job in a particular school. Now let us think that a teacher is appointed in a school in the year 2020. In this school, the teacher will be required to work as a full-time teacher, wherein the teacher will have to perform all the duties along with classroom teaching. And here, when the teacher performs this duty, all the training which EC has got from the pre-service training institution will be put into practice here. Here, this teacher also will be assigned a mentor, and mentor normally here would be a senior teacher. So that mentor will be regularly guiding this teacher in performing all the school-related activities, not only the classroom teaching, but all the school-related activities. Mentor will be giving him or her this month of training for the professional development of the beginner teacher. Now, once the teacher is going through all this practices, EC will be required to reflect upon the classroom behavior, particularly the classroom while EC is teaching. The one is required to reflect upon, and this reflection, in fact, would be most significant input for one's development. But now, on the basis of this reflection, he is confident that now I have acquired the competencies for my higher level, then we go for the performance evaluation. And on the basis of result of this performance evaluation, would develop a plan for self-development. Now, this plan would be on the basis of the result of this performance evaluation, because when one goes for performance evaluation, one would get to know the strength and also certain weakness. So, this self-development plan should necessarily reflect or should focus on the weaknesses that have been identified by the teacher. And then these weaknesses can be addressed effectively as I told you earlier through the self-reflection and also through the continuous process of development one is required to go for at least 50 hours in a year. So one is the inputs that each has received from research training institution. Second, the inputs from the mentor. Third, the inputs from self-reflection. And fourth is the inputs from the continuous process of development. And all this put together will help teacher to become a proficient teacher. So now, on the basis of all the inputs, when the teacher is ready or is confident, then we go for self-development. And here, it will be an assessment of the skill that one has acquired. So, there will be a performance evaluation. As I told you earlier, teacher will go for performance evaluation, and then we apply on the board. And when everything is found suitable for the growth to the proficient teacher or the beginner teacher, the application will be approved. The teacher now will become proficient teacher. The learning continues from proficient teacher to the expert teacher. Guidance of mentor, self-reflection, continuous process of development, and all these inputs are to be practiced in the classroom setting. And once again, the teacher then will go for self-assessment, will apply.
Thank you so much, Professor Patel, for that explanation. Hello. Thank you so much for that deliberation and also explanation on the professional standards according to the Belinda. Hello? Hello? Can you hear? It's working, no? Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Professor Patel, for explaining to us about the National Professional Standards of Teachers and also highlighting on the teacher career progression in NPST. Now, at this time, I think we are running short of time. We will hand over the time to Professor C. Nongbri to explain to us on the importance of NPST in the context of Meghalaya.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, we are running short of time. and I don't want to take away the time of of the participants, because we have a very limited time of only half an hour. So I just mention, I won't go into the details about NPST. We have had enough of discussion from all the three speakers ahead of me, but what I want to focus here is only the the problems and the issues that we in Meghalaya is having. I know there are concerns about the professional development of teachers and this have been a political dimensions as government around the world which engage in the discourse on global standards and want to improve the quality of school education. Increasingly, teachers are feeling the pressure of securing high achievement scores and large-scale assessment of students' learning by external agencies are increasingly used as indicators of teachers' quality and as evidence to accrue the improved teacher generation programs. Now we have discussed at length the importance of teachers, which I won't go into the detail now. But what I want to bring to the notice of our participants is, the issues and the problems that we have in Meghalaya. And now, till we all know that the most important resource in our classroom is the teachers, and the competence and performance of teachers are two of the most important features in the determination of our education. And it is not necessary to have qualified and competent persons to teach, but conditions also have to be provided so as to bring out the best performance from them. Now, in spite of the fact that we talk so much about, the performance of teachers, there are gaps between the current state of learning outcomes and what is required. And this will be bridged only through undertaking major reforms and NPST, or the National Professional Standards of Teacher, that is hoped to bring about the quality, the equity and integrity into the system from early childhood care and education through higher education. However, in Meghalaya, till recently, there are few issues of professional development of teachers that need to be addressed. And some of the most pressing ones are the large percentage of untrained teachers, which not only in Meghalaya, but in the whole of Northeast India. Now, with the enforcement of the RTE Act, it ensures that most children from diverse backgrounds enter the elementary education system, and the challenge for the teachers is to make their programs, teaching and learning in the classroom, inclusive. In Meghalaya, as in the other states of the northeastern region, the problem is essentially preparing trained teachers to for training the untrained teachers. This is very important issues that need to be addressed. Second is a teachers shortage. Now, one of the major problems or the issues confronting the state with large teachers vacancy is the inadequate number of teachers education institutions and their annual intake capacity vis-a-vis the annual demand for teachers. This is true with Meghalaya, as there are only 5 cities to cater to the need of professional development at the secondary level. The state in the past had resorted to large-scale appointment of person without requisite qualification, professional qualification on contract basis. And this has directly impact the quality of teaching in school. However, the state government has been recently following the NCTE regulations in the state cadre and the recruitment rules for teachers prescribe qualification, which are equivalent to NCTE norms. Another issue that we have in the state is teachers' qualification. As mentioned earlier, the state government has reviewed teacher qualification, and it is felt that teacher qualification should be prescribed only after rigorous review of the existing curriculum framework for teacher education, NCFTE. Based on the recommendation of NEP 2020 on teacher education and training, a new and comprehensive national curriculum framework for teacher education, NCFTE 2021, is in the process of being formulated by NCTE, and the compatibility of the courses of study, syllabi, and teaching learning processes prevalent in the different states in the country with the national curriculum framework to be formulated by NCERT according to NEP 2020. I felt that this review would need to address the fact that school teachers are expected to teach language, mathematics, and environmental studies, often in multi-grade, multi-level, and multilingual situation. It would also need to factor in the need for transacting abstract concept at upper primary stage and prepare subject teachers for such transaction of the curriculum, which are really in real shortage in the states. Now, we have learned about the 4 different standards that have been mentioned in the National Professional Standards of Teachers. And one of them is for subject teachers, TET, as well as the national testing agencies, test scores in a corresponding subject will also be considered for recruitment. This will be need to be reiterated in the state. NEP 2020 also promote the idea of recruiting teachers to a school complex and sharing them across a group of schools to deal with shortage of teachers, particularly for music, dance, art, craft, counselor, coaches, vocational. And it encourages school complex to hire local eminent person or experts as master instructor in various subjects, such as the traditional arts, vocational brass, agriculture, etc., to meet the needs of teacher to teach the newly introduced classical languages and vocational and skill subjects. So these 4 standards are defined elaborately to cover the lifelong career evaluation of teaching professionals starting from trainee to qualified to a lead teachers, as have been reiterated by all the speakers before me. Now, the development of India National Professional Standard of Teachers is the centralized responsibility of the National Council for Teacher Education, NCTE, a statutory body of the Government of India. However, teacher communities, higher educational institutions such as the universities, central and state level implementation bodies, including NCERT, NEPA, CBSE, State Board, SCERT, DIETs, etc., shall be essential for implementing the teaching standards in their respective regions. However, dedicated expert support will have to be provided by NCTE to all the bodies to ensure adherence to the teaching standards and protocol. And that is the importance of today's program open house discussion on NEP 2020 in the special context of National Professional Standards of Teachers. I therefore invite all the stakeholders to participate actively and suggest the way forward for professional development of teachers. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Sinombri, for that brief introduction on the National Professional Standards for Teachers, which will be relevant to Meghalaya and also to the Northeast. Now, I think I will give the time to the participants to ask questions to the resource persons. And maybe if you need any clarification, you can also ask, and maybe we can direct the questions to the participants. To the experts. All right, over to you, participants. Any questions or query that you want to make with regards to the topics that we have discussed? The NPST.
Good morning, Professor Sungo ma'am, with your permission. Good morning to Professor R.C. Patel sir and Thakur sir and HOD ma'am, Dean ma'am, and all the noble teachers. I have two clarifications from NCTE. Actually, those who enter into teacher education, they are coming with 2 PG, 2 UG. Suppose myself, BSc, B.Ed, MA, M.Ed. But some other than teacher educators, they are entering BSc, MSc with NET or PhD. So here, right now, 2-year B.Ed, now maybe integrated. Already we spent 2-year B.Ed, 2-year M.Ed, means 4 years extra than any other teachers in higher education. But there is no benefit, monetary benefit or any academic benefit. Those who did LLM, they are getting extra increment. What is the role of NCTE here? Another thing, number 2, recently the NCTE notified members of curriculum development for curriculum framework. I didn't see the senior most teachers in education field, Professor R.C. Patel sir, Professor Sanjeev Sonewane sir, some others. Those teachers, they never thought in teacher education, they became the member in curriculum framework. The way NCTE is expecting from us and they itself is doing is a contradiction. I need clarification from NCTE.
Hey, ma'am.
All right, anybody from NCTE who can answer to the question asked by Dr. Amar?
Thank you for your suggestion, what you have done. We have noted it. For NCFT, right now the curriculum has been designed by NCRT, and NCT will be taking further, and then it will come to NCT. Will try to incorporate more teachers. At our end for NPST, we have having this open house only so that we can connect with larger group, people like you, teachers, school leaders, and definitely academicians. So your point is well taken for that. And right now I cannot comment on NCFT because NCRT is taking on developing on it. And for NPST, yes, we had group discussions with the teachers, and we are trying to reach as much as possible to take inputs from various stakeholders, and this document is still in process. So whatever critical points you will be giving us, that will be well taken care. So besides that, if you have some more points on the document, the National Professional Standard for Teachers, it's all welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, madam, for that clarification. Yes, Professor Slim.
Ma'am, if you allow me.
Yes, over to you, Professor Slim.
Okay, thank you, ma'am, for the opportunity. In fact, I must say thank you to all the resource persons who have enlightened us on this national professional standards for
teachers. And in fact, with very short time, yet, we are clear now with, the specifications of this NPST. However, just a few observations, which, maybe any of the resource persons, maybe Professor Patel can, a small observation which Professor Patel maybe can enlighten me on this is, sir, one thing is, my query is, I'm just a little wary and apprehensive of the non-participation maybe of teachers in this CPTC, sir. That is one. I mean, how will you motivate, especially teachers of the private schools? Another is because I'm also wary if there's any monetary incentive for these teachers for upgradation from the one level to another. And if there is from the beginner teacher to to the level of lead teacher, then who will be the authorized official to actually recommend and say that, one is a beginner, then you are fit now to go to the next level, which is proficient, then expert, then lead. So I have those few observations, sir, and maybe if you you can respond maybe to that, sir, I'd be grateful. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Sir Patel, can you are you there? Yes.
Yeah, I'm very well here.
Okay,
First
sir.
of all, let me express, I had an urgent meeting, so I could not attend this entire session. I very much wanted to attend and listen to everybody, but then it was not in my hands. Now, see, you must have seen my presentation, and in that presentation also, towards the end, in a few slides, I have raised several issues. And madam, you are in fact adding on to these two, to the issues that I have already raised. The first one, if I have got it clearly from you, it is how to motivate the teachers of schools to participate in this entire process, and especially the teachers who are working in private sector. We perhaps had similar kind of doubts somewhere around 2000, 2001, when SSA was to be implemented across the country. And see, over a period of time, we have found that now everybody has accepted that, and all are participating in all the activities of Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan. So similarly, I am hopeful that if it comes from the government, maybe sooner or later, everybody will accept it and will participate. This is what I am hopeful. But with regard to your second question, whether there will be any monetary benefit and who will be certifying, in fact, I also have my own doubts, but then if you read the documents carefully, it gives us an impression that it would be NCTE only through its portal, from beginner to proficient to expert and to the lead teacher. The certification process, I think, will be by NCTE only. So certification will be by NCTE, but whether there will be any monetary benefit or not, even I am unclear. But thank you, thank you for raising this issue, because NCTE people also are watching this and they will take care of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Patel.
Madam, may I also add an observation at this point? Thank you, Professor Patel, for sounding out the areas of concern. Both the questions raised at this forum are very, very significant. Dr. Amar and the lady next who raised these questions are very, very important. Another area which when Sir has compared the program with Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan, I am a little apprehensive about the monitoring of the trainings also, because we know, in spite of our best intentions, in spite of the regulatory body, we have had non-attending students and absence of teachers in private institutions of teacher training. Now, the large number of teacher training institutes, will they be involved in implementing NPST, or will it be the university departments, HRDC centers, and as outlined in the program? Monitoring of the training program, not only who is motivated to go, but in one of the programs, it was very jokingly pointed out that, do you know what is a trainee teacher? A trainee teacher is a person who keeps on going to trainings only, who doesn't sit in the class, who doesn't teach, who is only going for trainings. So in such a scenario, we also have to have some mechanism to see that every teacher or different groups of teachers are sent regularly for training, as is envisioned for their continuous professional development. And also the training gets translated into curriculum transaction in the classroom. One has to also link it to institutional benefit of the teachers training to the institutions and feedback by students. Do they see a change in the classroom environment, in assessments, in the school environment after the teachers come from their training? So this is also my concern.
Thank you, madam. Any other comments on this point from anyone?
With the permission of Professor S.M. Sungo, I want to share one to Professor Latika Sharma, madam. Ma'am, till date, I organized 105 programs through online, 94 and offline. So here I want to tell one thing. Australia, they started long back about professional standards of teacher educators and higher education. Almost all the developed countries, they're using teaching capabilities in place of competency. But in India, still we are using teaching competency only. Novice, beginners, intermediate, expert, and advanced. But we are in the middle only. Even Bloom's taxonomy application, above application, analysis, and analysis, evaluation, and creation. But we are not in a position to think about creation. So my humble suggestion to the experts, I'm not criticizing anybody. Those senior teachers and ma'am, you used the PowerPoint presentation based on learning styles. Some of the experts, without PPT, they spoken. But what about those who are visionary? What about those who are kinesthetic, different learning styles of the participants in the program? So my humble request, it is better to think about gifted, inclusive, all types of participants whenever you are presenting. So if you don't participate, this is for a professional standards and development, but ourselves through our program, if you not implement, what type of lesson we are going to give to teachers? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Amar. All right, any other question from anyone? From the participants from colleges of teacher education and also from diets? You must be having, yes.
Yes, I have one query because as per the NPST or NEP also 5.20, 5.15, 16, 17, it talks about the continuous professional development. So also we have seen the highlighted, it has been highlighted in this context with regards to the 50-hour CPD. So when we are talking about CPD, so we also are talking about certification. So whenever a teacher or a head of a school, because when we're talking about CPD, it does not necessarily restrict only to the teachers, but also to the heads of schools. So for this, the authenticity of certification. So is there any kind of a mechanism or maybe sets of standards that will authenticate the certification for a teacher out at the end of the program, at the end of the CPD, if at all they receive the certificate? So the authenticity of certification, ma'am.
All right, thank you, Caroline, for that pertinent question. Any of the experts can answer to that question?
Madam, I'll attempt to answer some of the queries. One, another very significant issues raised by Professor Latika Sharma about the monitoring of training. I'll once again go back to Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan. There also, every year, all teachers were expected to undergo a 20 days training program. And we, across the country, we have had varied kind of feedback. Somewhere it was going on very smoothly and as per the expectation and as per the needs of the teachers. And somewhere, as she has very rightly said, it was, perhaps nothing was happening. But then we know, the vastness of our country and limited resources. So maybe somewhere this will happen, but I personally believe that we got to believe in our teachers. Let us have faith in our teachers. Because if we only do not believe in them, perhaps, this bureaucrats and administrators, they might have a different stand. So my request to all of you is, let us keep faith in our teachers, because we in our country, we have wonderful set of teachers. So let us believe in them and let us try to utilize their capacities to the best. Second is that 50 hours of CPD, continuous professional development, even towards the end, I have also raised certain issues in my presentation. Who will be the resource persons here? But then it seems that the teacher educators will be taking care of 50 hours of CPD. So then, this will lead us to an issue of the workload of teacher educators, and also those teachers who are working in school. Large number of teachers, if they are pulled out from the school every year for 50 hours, how we will be managing the school affairs is another issue. Even when we talk of 360-degree assessment, we will be required to take feedback from all the stakeholders, including the student and the parent. Now, I think it is too much to expect objective and honest feedback from very small kids. Somehow I have my doubts with regard to getting feedback from this. And then there are many parents who are illiterate and who do not have time even for the education of their children. And then expecting now these parents to give feedback also will lead to another serious issue. About certification and its authenticity, I believe that the certificate will be issued by NCTE only, and its authenticity can be checked, I think, and this will be there in ABC, Academic Bank of Credit, or there will be some other kind of electronic repository in which the certificates will be there. So perhaps its authenticity can be checked there. But I think somebody from NCTE should be responding to this. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you so much, sir, for the clarification. Yes, Professor.
Ma'am, can I just
Yes.
add to what Professor Patel has just mentioned? Yes, that is a concern for all the teachers, not only the time constraint, but also the authenticity of the courses. However, as we all know, the NEP 2020 has been emphasizing on online courses, and through SWAYAM courses, which which will e-content which are being developed by the different higher education institutions. I think these are the only opportunities that teachers can avail to have that 50 hours professional development in a year, which is next to impossible if the teacher has to to go for offline training program. Thank you, ma'am.
May I add, Professor
Yes.
Nongi? Thank you for giving this very valuable input when we are talking about digitization of courses, and we are thinking of blended mode. 40% of our courses may be taught in the blended mode. It is important at the same time to have certain innovative programs also, where the innovations at institutional level are also documented as part of CPD, because CPD not only is at institutional level, that means organized by others and attended by the teachers, there is self-development also. So self-development efforts have to feature in the CPD program in the number of hours also. So my suggestion would be that, yes, we have Swayam courses, we have face-to-face courses, and we also have some documentation and record of the efforts of self-learning, self-development, which are made by the teacher. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Sharma, for that explanation as
only
well.
one addition.
Yes,
one
yes.
addition.
Yes,
On
sir.
page 46 of this document, it has been said that NCT will be approving certain institutions for training, and then the teachers would be required to attend training organized by such NCT approved institutions. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you so much, sir, for the clarification. Is there any more questions? Just one or two more, and then we will have to end this program. Any more questions?
I add only, I will take 1 minute with your permission. I 100%
Amar,
absolutely.
Dr. Amar, I would like you to request you to give chance to others. Yes, from any College of Teacher Education or DITES or DERT, if you have any other questions or queries. I think we have none. Okay, Dr. Amar, please be brief.
I 100% agree with Professor Latika Sharma, ma'am. Ma'am, whether you believe or not, anybody, those who are members here, I completed till date 440 MOOC courses from 80 universities around the globe. So since 2017, so I did many courses from great Oxford University, Cambridge University, many other universities. So what I really appreciate Professor Latika Sharma's suggestion that 50 hours they can divide 50% offline, 50% online. Even within that 50% also, so 25%. So with maybe authentic way, 25% give freedom. Always exclusion is not good. Maybe selected institution only. No, I can show you some institutions extraordinary they are doing because of COVID-19 pandemic. Thanks, ma'am. There are 53 MOOC providers are there.
Okay,
not one. Swayam is the only one. Another 52 MOOC providers along with Swayam. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Amar. Yes, I also agree to these points. With regards to the CPDS, I think we need to make a kind of a plan where we have to see how we can work on these programs. Anyway, I think the participants have sought queries on the NPST, and I'm sure that you have been satisfied with regards to the answers that have been given by the experts. So I think it's time for us to close and come to the end of this program. So let me just give my remarks as well. Now, first of all, this program was set up in order for us to be able to understand what the NPST stands for and what we are to do with this particular draft document. Now, this document, why we have organized this program is because we wanted some suggestions and also recommendations from you with regards to the NPST. So as we have been, you have been hearing from, you have heard rather, from our experts on the different issues of NPST, I'm sure we are now ready to be able to give some suggestions. And some of you have given your suggestions, and we will try to incorporate these suggestions in our report. So first of all, let me just give a kind of a brief, summary of what has been deliberated in this particular webinar. Now, we all know that the NPST is a public statement of what constitutes teacher quality. So it defines, the work of teachers and makes explicit elements of high quality, effective teaching in the 21st century. And this will improve the educational outcomes of students. So, this NPST will govern the teaching profession in the country in relation to its professional role. So in addition to this, the NPST will aim to improve the teachers' personal and professional development by, providing them an understanding of what is expected in terms of the performance and what needs to be done to enhance the same. So here we have heard about the importance of the NPST, and this NPST will inform the design of the pre-service teacher education programs, and it would also cover expectations of the role of the teacher at different levels of expertise, rank, and capabilities required at these different ranks which have been set up by the NPST. So here in the NPST, we have heard deliberations on understanding teaching as a profession. We know that teaching is considered as a profession. So in order to become a person who works in this profession, we need to inculcate certain skills which will help the students, not only us, but which will help the students to be able to, cope up with the challenges that they are facing in the world today, the challenges in the workplace, challenges in the work life, and so on and so forth. So here, it's not only the students who are facing challenges, but it is also the teachers who are facing challenges. And we have heard about the challenges faced by the teachers as well. And with regards to the professional standards, of course, we have also, the experts have also defined the meaning of professional standards. And we have also seen the professional teaching standards which are going to be used in order to be able to understand the quality of the teachers. And there is also a kind of a framework which has also been presented by the expert to assess the professional standards of the teachers. And finally, Professor Patel and also Professor Nongri has also mentioned about the NPST standards, National Professional Standards for Teachers. So, the teachers' professional standards will be based on the core values and ethics, professional knowledge and understanding, professional practice and competence, and professional development and growth. So I'm sure that all the experts, Professor Thakur, Professor Latika, Professor Patel, and Professor C. Nongri have explained to us in a nutshell. Of course, if we want to really work on each of these components, we will need maybe 3-4 webinars to be able to really understand what we have to do and how we have to implement it. But at this point of time, since this is the first time that we are discussing this particular document, what we can do now is just to read the document. It is not very lengthy. You can read the document, and maybe from each College of Teacher Education or DITES or DERT, you please send us your suggestions so that we can forward it to the NCTE, and maybe we can organize another program with you to finalize or summarize what we have recommended. So I would like to request all the participants here to give your suggestions, so that suggestions within a week maybe, so that we can send it immediately to the NCTE, so that we can see what is to be done in this document. So actually this document is just only a draft. So you can give any recommendations or rather suggestions which you feel will be applicable to you, because some of these, issues that are here in this document is not feasible, especially for us in the Northeast. So I would like you to work on these and please give your pertinent suggestions, but the suggestions should be workable. They should be workable here in the Northeast and especially in Meghalaya. So I would like to request this from you, and thank you so much for participating. I would like to thank in a special way our experts, Professor Thakur, Professor Sharma, Professor Patel, and Professor Nongri for giving us, a kind of a roadmap in which we can work on the NPST. So once again, I would like to thank all the participants. Without you, we would have not been able to, organize this program. I'm so happy that many of you have joined and also participated in this program. So pray that we will be able to organize such type of programs, because we do need this type of deliberation, because we're all educationists. Unless we have this kind of deliberation, we will not be able, we will just remain stagnant. So when the document comes up, we will say why this is happening, why this recommendation, why this, this factor is here. So we have to play an active part in order to be able to, see that our needs are also met. Thank you so much once again, and thank you for participating. And I wish you all a very good afternoon. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, for moderating this panel today. And also thank all the resource persons and experts and the panelists. And moving on due to the shortage of time, I will request Dr. Rihunlang Rimbai to propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you so much, Dr. Yodia Malthau. So at the end of every program, we do come to the end of it, and usually we feel a sense of fulfillment and we feel a sense of satisfaction. So definitely we need to express our gratitude to everyone who are participating in this program. So at the very outset, I would like to thank the NCTE team for giving us this opportunity, for identifying our Northeastern Hill University through the Department of Education to be able to sit for this open discussion on NPST, so that you will learn, so we will understand and we will learn, and so that the NCTE will come about with the common guiding set for NPST at the national level by 2022, in consultation with all the people from the different levels. So thank you so much for that. So I would start from the inaugural session. I'm very, very grateful to our Vice Chancellor in charge, Professor T.B. Suba, who was present in the morning in the inaugural session, and Sir had deliberated upon the importance of NPST, the importance of the objectives of NPST, but had also asked a question as to how do we implement this. So definitely we are at the position where we do not know where we are, but yet with a positive outlook, we will work together, and definitely we will reach somewhere with this initiative of the NCTE at the national level. So I would also like to express my gratitude to Professor C. Nongri, who gave the introductory remark. So Ma'am Nongri, Dean School of Education, is also the coordinator of the program. Thank you so much, ma'am, for all your efforts. Of course, hand in hand with the NCTE, with Nisha from NCTE. I would express my gratitude to the head of the department, Professor Ibadani Saim. Thank you so much for making us feel welcome. You have welcomed each and every one of us, from the members of the NCTE to the participants and the resource person and everyone. Thank you so much, ma'am. I would also like to extend my gratitude to Ms. Kezang Y. Sherpa, Member Secretary of NCTE. Also to Dr. Jayesh Patel, Deputy Secretary NCTE, for the brief talk. And also a vote of thanks I would like to propose to Mr. Rishabh Khanna, who gave a very apt presentation, very crisp presentation, which we had all looked forward to, and we are very happy. Moving forward to the technical session, I would like to thank our dear Professor S.M. Sungo, former Dean, School of Education, NEHU Shillong. Thank you so much, ma'am, for moderating this program and for bringing all the resource persons together at the same table to discuss on all these important matters, and also for your concluding remark. And a deep sense of gratitude really to all the resource persons, from Professor G.K. Thakur to Professor R.C. Patel, and also to Professor Latika Sharma. Thank you so much, sirs and ma'am, for all your expertise that you are pouring into the table, so that all of us could have and understand, briefly, though at this particular moment, to understand briefly, but definitely, we will reach somewhere where we will deeply understand, and so that we can also give our commitment towards our teachers. Thank you so much for all your expertise. And I would also like to thank Professor C. Nongri, ma'am, also for reflecting on the need of Meghalaya, because we are here facing a different kind of a problem. But definitely we hope that with the reflection that ma'am gave, we will be able to touch on all those, so that it will be more fulfilling also for the states, for the teachers of Meghalaya. And also, I would like to thank all the participants, from the heads of the institutes, the principals of the CTEs, the diets, from DRT, all the teacher educators, the school teachers who are present in this platform. Thank you so much for being here, for participating. Though some of you had not interacted, but I believe you will take something with you to understand about this initiative of the NCTE. And also, I would like to thank all our guest faculty. I would like to thank Mr. Michael Dirani, Dr. Sharon Zading, Presley Karsati, Hamley, and all the other guest faculty who are here with us. And also, I would like to propose a vote of thanks to our technical person who's helping us here. Thank you so much, Ba, for helping us. And I believe I'm not forgetting anyone. But anyway, thank you. A great thank you to everyone who are taking part to make this open discussion really open. Thank you.
So at this point of time, thank you so much once again. Now we end this program. See you next time.